Hi, class. Um, so I watched Diaz Dixon's TED Talk, and the concept of communication from chapter 3 that I thought was pretty important and brought up a lot in the TED Talk was centered around self-esteem and how many people feel imposter syndrome in their lives. And, imposter syndrome can come from many different aspects of people's lives: race, ethnicity, religion, different beliefs, or even income. And people can feel, with anything, people can feel like they don't belong or deserve the things that they have or want. In the textbook, they explain how people have this imposter syndrome because they have a fear of being found out by their peers or other people. And Diaz brings this up a couple times during his TED Talk. First, when he was talking about how his wife knew who he was talking to on the phone when it was just based on his voice, whether it was talking to his parents or people he worked with or just his buddies, and how people talk differently with other people because they don't want them to know that they act a different way with other people, and people have these kinds of different personalities. And I thought that was really interesting during the TED Talk. And then the other time was when he was talking about his high school experience, how his high school was integrated and how he had grown up Black in a predominantly white school. And because the school was integrated, he kind of felt like an imposter because he belonged with both groups, but he also felt like he didn't belong in both of those groups. So it was like that imposter syndrome situation with him in high school. And I thought it was interesting to bring up from the chapter because I feel like people act a certain way because they want to please other people, but also because imposter syndrome is something that anyone can feel. And I feel it sometimes with different groups that I hang out with, just because I don't want to feel like I'm not a part of a group. And even though sometimes I do feel like I'm not a part of it, even though I am. And that was also the most interesting part of the TED Talk. And the message that I took away from the TED Talk was that people will act differently in different situations. And even if it's subtle, just based on how they speak or how they interact with people, but it's a huge part of communication because we aren't always going to talk or act the same way with every single person. So studying how we interact with, in group settings and one-on-one conversations or even online is like a big deal because we're not always going to communicate the same way.